Is caloric intake still relevant? Absolutely. No matter what, it's a law of thermodynamics for a reason. Of course, it's always going to be relevant, but the question is it the most important way to look at nutrition? Hey everyone, how's it going? So today I wanted to make a bit of a video based off of a very common question I get as a personal trainer. In my own life, I figured I'd like to clarify this in a video, and if it helps provide any insight to any of you, then it was worth making. So the question is ultimately about caloric intake versus food quality and which one someone should focus on. If they can only focus on one primarily, which one should they focus on? Now, I get asked very frequently, is it true calories in and calories out, sort of that law of thermodynamics, let's say? Is that true? Well, it is true, obviously, but the question is whether we should focus on caloric intake versus food quality, right? Because I know a lot of people who are concerned with the calories in, calories out thing, and maybe they have a bit of a tough time managing caloric intake and food quality. So the way I like to run through this is imagining two different situations. Let's pretend one situation, person A, is eating too much food, but they're eating healthy. And then in situation B, we're still going to use person A, but they're doing the opposite. They're eating unhealthy, but their caloric intake is in a deficit, right? So I'll pose this question to you just for a thought experiment. If you had to pick one of these two scenarios, which one would you pick? I know, which one I would pick. I wonder which one you would pick. And try to, really ask yourself why. Think through both scenarios and try to come to a conclusion for yourself. And the rest of this video will be me sort of elaborating on my view of this. So in the one situation where someone is eating unhealthy, but they're also in a caloric deficit, in the near term, that person will theoretically lose weight. And a good percentage of that weight will be fat, right? But I would argue that in the long run, the person who's eating unhealthy, even if they started in a caloric deficit, they will slowly but surely create an environment for their body, right? The organs within their body won't be as optimal. They won't function as well as they could be. And other factors in the ecosystem that is our body, right, will sort of move slowly but surely in a negative direction. And in the long run, that person will have a tough time physically. Okay? That's the way I look at that. Now let's take the contrasting example. You have someone who is starting out in a caloric surplus. They're eating a bit too much, but they're genuinely eating healthy, right? Seems like a bit of a paradox. They're eating a bit too much. They're getting too many calories in to lose weight in the near term, but they are genuinely eating healthy. Now, what should happen in the long run to that person? Obviously, in the short run, they will expect to gain a bit of weight. But if they have the foundation of good quality nutrition, right? In the long run, their organs should be getting, at least maintaining their performance or improving. The whole ecosystem again in their body should improve, right? It should either maintain or improve, right? And because they're eating clean, they're more likely in the medium to long run to end up in a caloric deficit or a more caloric neutral state. Okay. So I know I'm kind of rambling here, but I really invite you to consider this. If you're someone who wonders whether you should focus on caloric intake versus food quality, long story short, it's all about food quality. Everything else will generally sort itself out when you focus on food quality. So for someone who's only sort of focused with blinders on caloric intake, and if they're not very mindful of the food quality, they may, I guess the term might be missing the forest through the trees. I don't know if that's the exact saying, but that's the way I would look at this. Is caloric intake still relevant? Absolutely. No matter what, it's a law of thermodynamics for a reason. Of course, it's always going to be relevant, but the question is it the most important way to look at nutrition? And I would argue no. Food quality is always top priority, even more so than caloric intake, 100%. For me, when I think about it, it ends up being a no-brainer, but it takes a little bit of thinking through it to make it clear. Okay? Hope you're doing well. And if you have any comments or questions or anything of that nature, please feel free. I enjoy the positive or neutral comments, right? And I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Peace.